This video is entitled Conflict Resolution, and it goes along with Chapter 6 of the Project Management for Technology course. I'm James Reneau Ph.D. I'm a professor at Shawnee State University, and I'll be taking you through this video presentation. In this video, I want to talk about the inevitability of conflict. There will always be conflict when people are involved. We'll talk about some various techniques and ways to manage conflict and how to deal with disputes and individual disgruntled team members. Conflict happens. People working together, especially when the stakes are high or it's important, there will always be conflict. You, as a project manager, as the master communicator, as the person who's trying to make this all work, it's one of your roles to make sure that this conflict, this interpersonal relations issues and other issues do not derail the project. It's not fun. You may not want to do this, but you must. It's part of your job. And something about conflict that is just human nature, and you think about this in your relations with other people that you've had outside of your project management or outside of school. Usually, it just won't work itself out. Usually, it takes communicating, talking about the problem, figuring out what's driving the conflict. You know, in my opinion, and this is outside the scope of the book, but I really believe that most conflict drives from one human emotion, and that's the emotion of fear. Either fear you're not going to get what you deserve, or fear you are going to get what you deserve. There are so many things that can all be wrapped up in fear. Fear of failure, sometimes even fear of success. Um, uh, that's often when you stop and look at the root of conflict. That's where the conflict comes from. But again, when people work together and the stakes are big, you'll always have problems. Because of that, there are several techniques that can be used to help work a problem out or help work out the conflict. Number one is smoothing. Smoothing is just agreeing over the differences. You know, you've got party A over here that says this, you've got party B over here that says this, and you say, you're both rightish. Let's just keep moving. It's temporary. A smoothing technique of just pushing it down and smoothing it over is temporary because the real issue, the kernel of the problem, the what's driving the conflict has not been identified, and you've not really cleaned it up. It's still there, it's just been smoothed over. Forcing. Well, sometimes it's appropriate to just force a solution, permanent, but may not be the best solution. Often, if you've got two individuals that want to do a job one way and another individual that wants to do a job another way, you come in and you say, my way is the highway, we're doing it this way, forget it, or we're doing it his way, or we're doing it her way. Um, Team members can have hard feelings. It's not really recommended to come in and be the heavy, but sometimes you need to be. There's a technique called compromising, where we find the middle. Now, in compromising, it's not a win-win solution. It's more of a everybody gives up a little something to get to the middle. If everybody's not feeling a little put out, then it's not a good compromise. Um, if somebody walks out of a compromise saying, "Yay, I won," it's not a compromise. A compromise is really where everybody gives up something, finding the middle. It works really well if when the compromise is made, all of the parties can say, well, yeah, that's going to work. That you get buy-in from all of the parties. That's when a compromise really, really works well. So, smoothing, forcing, and compromising are the first three conflict resolution techniques. Oh, and these will be on the Project Plus test. So, smoothing, forcing, and compromising. And then the next ones I'm going to show on the next slide. The next three conflict resolution techniques are confronting. Confronting is a classic way to solve problems. It's fact finding, it's data driven. A real fix is found when you confront a conflict. You put the two individuals, find the facts on this side, find the facts on this side, and find a data driven scientific problem, a scientific answer to the problem. Often it's the best way, just because it's a win win for everybody. If you can show the science, you can show the data behind the solution that's brought up through the conflict, everybody wins in that. There's another technique called avoiding the conflict, and that's just withdrawing from the problem. Somebody backing off and saying, "Well, whatever." Well, it doesn't fix it. It's lose lose. It's cancer to a project or a team to have these avoided conflicts because there are people that are going to be walking around with sore feelings, with hurt emotions that have those fears that cause them to act out. Um, we don't want that at all, and we don't want to avoid conflict. We want to, I think, confront it in the most perfect sense. And then lastly, negotiating. Maybe you have two team members or two sub teams or two groups within your teams that are working on things. And the best way to do it is to bring them together, bring them into a room, have them communicate, listen, question, and maybe you even need to have an independent voice in that room. Bring in a subject matter expert. Maybe bring in somebody from HR, or maybe you would be the negotiating party as the project manager to bring them together and to negotiate a best fit, a best solution. So the next three techniques are confronting, avoiding, negotiating. So when you have disputes between team members, remember that we all come with our own perspectives. We all have our own emotional place. We all have our own emotions, and an individual's emotions are real, they're valid. Um, they may seem irrational to us, that they may seem not based in reality, but the team member still has that feeling, their perspective, and their understanding. When you're dealing with disputes between two team members, get the facts first. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't side with one or the other. If it's minor, disputes between two team members, you might be able to, as the project manager, act as a moderator and try to get the communication flowing. Because when one team member will say to the other, with the trust that we talked about in the previous presentation, I feel there's a problem with this, or I feel that I'm being treated unfairly this way, or I see this as a problem and you're not paying attention to it, and I'm not feeling trusted, I'm not feeling needed. If a team member can share that in an open forum, maybe with you as a moderator, and the other team member can listen and really listen, um, then often the team member disputes can be worked out and everybody can walk away as maybe not friends, but at least team members. If it's a major problem, if it's a major dispute between team members, contact HR, bring human resources into this, bring your stakeholders, bring your sponsor into this if you need to. Be sure to be sure to look at corporate policies and other policies. And if these disputes become really bad, they may put yourself, they put you as a project manager, and the project itself at jeopardy. Uh, don't go there. If it starts to get out of hand, go get help. Move up the food chain and protect your project and yourself as you go through this. But for little disputes, hopefully you'll be able to help your team members work through getting through the little stuff. And the last thing that you're going to have to deal with in conflict are those disgruntled team members. You know, that team member that it's never any, always down, always blue, always a naysayer, always getting in the way of progress. You know those people. They stand around the water cooler and talk about their team members as well. You should have seen what he did or she did, or you know, they're poison to the team. They create conflict, and what you need to do is maybe pull them aside and spend some one-on-one time with them and listen. Find out why they feel the way they do. Find their fears. Find what's driving. Find out what the problem is. Get them to stick to facts, you know, and be sure you tell them the truth. You know, if they say, "Well, this project's going to, it's not going to work," and blah 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 blah, well, tell them the truth. Well, it's going to work, and here's why, and show them the data and show them the reasons. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't do this. Shouldn't work with disgruntled team members in front of the whole team by, yeah, well, Bob's a naysayer. We hate him, don't we? You don't say that in front of the rest of the team. That's just not the way to do it. Be sure to do it in a subtle, polite, congenial, professional way. And again, that often means one on one. And then, if it can't be resolved as within the team and with you as the project manager, you again may need to bring human resources or others involved into the discussion with this disgruntled team member to try to get them aligned up with the team, or maybe have them move on to another team. You don't really want to push them off onto somebody else, but maybe there's a better fit somewhere else in the organization besides your project. This presentation follows along with Kim Heldman's CompTIA Project Plus study guide, and the reference to that book is here. And I would like to say thank you for watching. Remember, this presentation is copyright 2020 by James Reneau Ph.D. You can contact me at jreneau@shawnee.edu. Remember, this work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, non-commercial, share alike, 4.0 international license. And do contact me if you have any questions. And again, thanks for watching.